Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is Michael Salomon and Naim El-Shami from Clean Horizon. Welcome to our May 31st, 2002 Energy Storage Leaderboard. We're seeing people connecting massively, so we're going to leave a couple minutes to everyone so they can log in, and we will start again at just about 2 minutes. Okay, I think we'll get started as the clock is ticking, and I see a lot of people are still connecting, but I guess they'll just miss the propaganda at the beginning of the conversation. Okay, so very pleased to be with you here today. My name is Michael Salomon. I am the CEO and president of Clean Horizon Consulting. As you know, we are the one-stop shop energy storage expert. I will be presenting today along with my colleague Naim El-Shami, who operates as a senior analyst in the team in charge of multiple topics, including our CHESS database, which is the source for not all, but most of the data of the discussion of the data and facts we're going to be presenting today. In a nutshell, well, I'm assuming everybody knows us here, but you never know. I'm still going to be giving you the 30-second propaganda. We are and have been since 2009 a one-stop shop energy storage consultancy, acting both as market analysts and as technical consultants, only working on energy storage topics, which just for those of you who have never paid attention, this gives us a unique, this is a unique positioning in the storage space for sure, and probably even in the energy space, insofar as our vantage point is both of being able to understand markets pretty much all across the world and to serve IPPs, utilities as an owner's engineer, as a technical advisor, which then in turn allows us to understand the nitty-gritty details of procuring storage, connecting storage, and seeing the real life of of storage deployments all across the world, and not just at the glossy slides of a market analyst. Therefore, our market analysis work is grounded into the reality of the project that we're actively taking part in pretty much on every continent. Okay, so as I said earlier, most of the data we will be discussing today stems from our storage database. What did I hear? That some of you are still not subscribers of this amazing offer? I cannot believe this. This is impossible. I hope that this free, I was going to say commercial, this free information session that we're having today is going to change the mind of the few of you that are still resisting subscribing to this database. In a nutshell, what is this database? It's called CHESS, as in Clean Horizon Energy Storage Source. What this is, it's an immense amount of work that we've been carrying out for maybe the past 5 years now, where essentially we go project by project all over the world. We amass publicly available and verifiable information about each and every single megawatt level project that we find pretty much over the world, and we have very strict criteria to include projects in our database. These projects must be in a way public, and needs to have a few characteristics that make them realistic according to our criteria, meaning that this project has this project needs to have a precise site. We need to know where it is. It cannot be completely confidential, and we need to have an understanding of its the possibility, the likelihood that this project will ever see the light of day, meaning that there's at least an understanding of the business case behind it, or the rationale or the PPA behind this project. And so all in all, we are now, I think at the time this presentation is made, I think we have 1,993 projects in our database. We're claiming 2,000 plus, this is because we're lying, okay? But probably by the end of next week, we will have crossed the 2,000 project in this database. And this is the work that Naim and a few members of our team are carrying out pretty much every week. And we're updating this database once a week or once every fortnight, depending on the amount of projects that we need to verify. And so what we'll be doing today, we'll be presenting some of the key, very high-level findings of this that we can make of using this database to understand where the industry lies pretty much right now. Naim will take over from me in just about a few minutes to go in a bit more details to provide what we call the leaderboard, which is a ranking of the countries, of the IPPs, and of the system integrators based on the data in our database that relying on the methodology that I've just explained. And at the end of this discussion, we will open up for two things. Firstly, we will provide a glimpse on the emerging opportunities all across the world in new geographies for energy storage projects and energy storage, I would say, favorable regulations. That's number one, and we will be opening up for questions. I think while I speak, Naim will be able to respond to some of the questions, hopefully all of the questions that you can place in the chat or in the questions in the Q&A window that you should have on your screen. If you don't have the time if we don't have the time to answer your question, you can send an email to the email address that you see at the bottom of the screen, reports@cleanhorizon.com, or directly write to me, ms@cleanhorizon.com, or to Naim at nec@cleanhorizon.com. So I think what we can say, first thing is we've been presenting these slides for 6 years. Basically, what this slide is about is we look in our database at the announcement year for every for energy storage projects in every geography, and we look at the end of this given calendar year how many new projects had been announced. So what I'm showing here is not a cumulative graph. It really shows, for example, for the year 2017, it shows that between January 1st and December 31st, 2017, if you look at all the projects that were announced to be deployed in the following years, and which announcement we deemed credible, and we still deem credible as of today, 3,206 megawatt of storage projects worldwide were announced. And as you can see, this number has been steadily and exponentially increasing since pretty much, the beginning of the previous decade. And from where we are year to date, as you can see, we have already surpassed 50% of last year's total announcements. And as you know, we're not yet in the middle of the year 2022. So we are pretty confident that that exponential curve is going to keep being a perfect exponential regression until the end of the year and potentially, in the coming years. Right now, we don't really see the impact of COVID on those numbers. We'll see in 2022 or 2023 if COVID or the war in Ukraine has impacts, but so far we can't really see that, at least at the level of these numbers. Obviously, some of you that are involved in the reality of procuring projects understand that delays are much longer than they used to. But from the point of view of the aggregate values of the market, we don't really see it. Now, here's a chart that we showed 6 months ago. We were showing that if I was looking at the sum of all the projects that were operational back then, all the ones that were under construction, and all the ones that were announced. So again, a project that we call announced is a project for which obviously the construction has not started, but where we believe that the public statement made about it is credible, meaning there's a site and at least some understanding of how the project can make its money. And at the time, if we're summing up all across geography, all across the world, the amount of projects operational, under construction, or announced, the total of projects was roughly 55 gigawatt worldwide. Well, if I look at the same slide made pretty much this morning, if I remember correctly, Naim. Oh no! Oh, that's too bad. We missed a slide. Yes, that number, which used to be 50 gigawatt, is now 72 gigawatt. So it means that over the past 6 months, we've added 17 gigawatts of projects, most of which in the announced section, but as you can see, the operational section increased by a couple of gigawatts. So, and the under construction as well increased significantly. So again, the storage space, the storage industry is still increasing at an accelerating pace, ergo the exponential curve that you've seen. And by the way, if you look at the revenue, the technology share amongst the total, the lion's share is still more than ever lithium-ion, and actually even more than 6 months ago. Now, okay, so what I'd like to do now is pass it on to Naim so he can go into a bit more detail and introduce the ranking, the leaderboard of players, countries, IPPs, and system integrators. Naim, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Michael. So yes, just like Michael said, the energy storage industry has been in a constant and quite exponential growth over the past few years, and that has been shown thanks to a certain dynamic, either on a geographical scale or also on a more player scale, which we'll be discovering in the next few slides. So now, if we try to, let's say, to cover a certain geographical leaderboard of sorts, the United States is still leading the way with more than 27 gigawatts of energy storage projects. This leadership is both on the operational or under construction projects, but also on the project announcements also. Right next to the US, Australia has been showing quite an impressive dynamic when it comes to energy storage, mostly due to the decommissioning of more than 42 gigawatts of thermal assets, coal and other gas generation plants, which is being coupled to crucial inertia and interconnection needs. So that has been, let's say, pushing towards energy storage in Australia. After that, there's the UK, which is the European leader when it comes to energy storage, then followed by Germany. Regarding the Indonesian case, Indonesia has been showing also over the past few weeks, one large project was announced, noticeably thanks to the 4 gigawatt Anantara PV plus storage project. So the idea of this project was really to generate energy, solar energy in Indonesia, stored through batteries, and transport it all the way to Singapore. So this entry has been added in this case because project off-takers, developers, and financing parties have already been identified for this specific application. Right after that, there's the Philippines, which also has been showing a great interest in energy storage when it comes to ancillary services, frequency control, more specifically, and that has also made it one of the leaders in the Asian continent. After that, that's China. So for China, we are mentioning 2.4 gigawatts. We should bear in mind that these values are quite conservative because we are being limited to public information, which is not always available for these kinds of projects. After that, there's Germany, which is the second largest player in the European continent. Canada also has been showing some great interest when it comes to energy storage, mostly for behind the meter applications on the megawatt scale, thanks to diverse mechanisms like the grid charge mechanism in Ontario. After that, there's South Korea, Japan, and France, etc. So when it comes to, let's say, to Latin America, Chile is leading the way. That also has been promoted thanks to the development of the local energy and ancillary service markets. which has led up to more than 491 megawatts of energy storage projects in Chile. After that, there's India. Also, India, we will be discussing that in the final slides of this presentation, which also is expressing great interests and tenders for energy storage. After that, there's Saudi Arabia with the Naim project, mostly where great capacities are being sought after in order to promote renewable integration and off-grid applications, plus some great targets set by the local utility over there. After that, there's Spain and Italy, which also have been showing some great dynamic over the past few years. So now when it comes to more to the players, on a first level, there's the developers. Well, every time that I talk about a developer or integrator, I will be trying to follow this kind of clarification. So when it comes to project stakeholders, there's often the mention of the battery manufacturer who usually offers, let's say, proposes the battery units. Some of the known players, for example, are LG Chem, Samsung, etc. And there's the PCS manufacturer who will be providing the power conversion part of the project. So it's mostly the inverter part for the battery to go from a direct to an alternative current. After that, there's the system integrator who will be proposing the turnkey solution by coupling the battery units plus the inverter units and providing a final turnkey energy storage solution. After that, there's the project developer who could most of the time be also the owner of such project. This player usually leads the project, develops it, and at times invests in it. Voila. So once again, if you try to compare the, let's say, to show the values of last November's leaderboard, so things were already interesting with NextEra leading the way with more than 3.2 gigawatts of energy storage projects. In current values, NextEra is still leading the way with a slight increase in terms of projects, but through an addition of 400 megawatts. So in this graph, we're trying to show you the players that have at least 2 projects, just in a way to let's say to shed out all of the players that are proposing huge projects to have a large portfolio. So in these values, we're showing players that have at least 2 projects, while with every project having a specific location, application, and a certain number of clear stakeholders. So on an international scale, NextEra Energy Resources is still the largest developer of renewable energy and energy storage projects. The second one is Neoen with most of its capacity, energy storage capacity, at least located in Australia. So we can see that between the last edition of this leaderboard and the new one, there has been an addition in terms of operational systems, mostly linked to the Victorian Big Battery in Victoria. Some of the other known projects are the Horsedale one, also in Australia, with the remaining capacity mostly in Australia, some of them in France and El Salvador. Solar Philippines is one of the other large developers, mostly in, let's say, dedicated to the Filipino market. 2 projects have been announced till yet, so maybe we still need to wait for some time to check whether these projects would see the light or not. After that is Mawenang. Mawenang has earned some, let's say, some few places over the past few months, mostly thanks to a deal with AGL Energy in Australia, under a plan to replace coal generation plants with energy storage systems. So that makes Mawenang the 4th largest contender in this leaderboard. After that, some other players like Hecate in the US, some known projects, CEP also in Australia, and there's TerraGen. TerraGen has also gained a few ranks over the past few months, mostly thanks to new systems that went into service in Texas, for example, and some new announced ones in California. After that, there's also Vistra Energy that has announced new extensions of one of the largest systems in the US today, which is the Moss Landing energy storage system. So Vistra Energy has been increasing the size of its project with a final estimated size of 6 gigawatt hours. So the system keeps growing under multiple phases, and that makes it today, at least today, one of the largest systems in the world in terms of energy storage. Some new players are still over there with a certain gain or loss of ranks in terms of places. One of the new players is Amp Energy. Amp Energy has recently announced 2 projects totaling 800 megawatts in the UK. So that allowed it to enter this ranking thanks to these 2 new projects that have already gained planning proposals and all of the permitting requirements to see the light. So beside that, one of the other new players is Jupiter Power. Jupiter Power is a Texas-based developer with most of its capacity already under construction and let's say more than 50 megawatts with already operational also in Texas. So now if we try to look on a more geographical aspect, on the first level for the North American continent, NextEra, given that it's the largest developer in the world, is still taking the lead here. Most of its capacity is dedicated to the US market. The same thing for Hecate, TerraGen, and Vistra. So the thing to notice here is that most of these players are let's say have most of their activities in the US market. That has been promoted through diverse market dynamics, given that in the US most of the ISO-led markets are open to energy storage. Markets like the capacity, energy, and ancillary service markets that are already open to energy storage. That has allowed us for a certain development of a local market for these players. You should also bear in mind that some international players are also present in this market. That is the case of EDF Renewables, the AES Corporation, or Enel through the Enel Green Power brand. So these players are international, but also have a large share of projects within this, mostly in the US. When it comes to Europe, Statera Energy, a UK-based developer, is leading the way. Over the past few months, this portfolio has also grown with new projects, mostly projects that are already under construction and ones that are already operational. And then in the second place, there's Amp Energy, just like I've said earlier, with 800 megawatts of projects that have been announced, and Intergen. So most of the, let's say, largest players are based in the UK, which is quite logical given that the UK is the largest European market for energy storage. That is the case for Statera, Amp Energy, Intergen, and RES. RES has some other activities in multiple countries, like France, for example. After that, there's Harmony Energy, which is also a UK-based developer. Harmony Energy has been developing nearly 410 megawatts of energy storage projects, plus another 141 megawatt pipeline through a partnership with Fotovatio Renewable Ventures. So these players, most of these large players are based in the UK. After that, there's the Total Energies group. Total Energies has been gaining some places over the past few months, mostly thanks to the commissioning of two projects. The first one in December in Dunkirk, and another one 2 weeks ago, also in France. Besides that, some of the other players were already in the past ranking. They were leaders. They're still doing so. Some of the interesting let's say evolutions was the Zenobi Energy, which has been selected under the Pathfinder project, Pathfinder program, led by the by National Grid, the TSO in the UK, in order to procure energy storage solutions to do voltage control applications. So that was one of the interesting efforts, on an international scale, to procure energy storage solutions to provide voltage control. And Zenobi was one of these contenders that were selected under it. So that was mostly it for the developers. So the thing to note is that usually the largest ones come from the let's say from the top countries in terms of energy storage, while the largest of them have more of a national approach, especially in the US. Some other ones are trying to go international in order to integrate new markets and be let's say and arrive first and as an approach of let's say first in best served. Another level, there's also the integrator aspect in terms of solution providers. uh, so in the November leaderboard, Fluence and Tesla were let's say were leading the game, which is still the case today. After that, there was Wärtsilä and NEC Energy Solutions. So NEC Energy Solutions was acquired by LG Energy Solution in September 2021, which we show you the change in this slide by replacing the name of this entity. So one of the new things here is to see that Fluence has gained, so let's say, some margin when it comes to the competitivity with Tesla, mostly thanks to new projects on an international scale in Asia, in Europe, and some of them in the US. After that, there's FlexGen. FlexGen also has gained quite a few places, mostly thanks to a new deal with Ameresco, a US-based developer, for a portfolio of projects in California. So more than 2.5 gigawatt hours of projects were, let's say, were contracted by Ameresco for a commissioning by next August. So we still need to see if these projects will be commissioned on time, but that has been showing quite an interest of commissioning such a high volume in less than 1 year since this selection was announced last September, with the commissioning by the end of August of this year. After that, there's LG Energy Solution. For LG Energy Solution, at least for the moment, we have one, let's say, one single public project for the LG Energy Solution itself, while the remainder of this volume is mostly coming from NEC Energy Solutions. One of the players that also gained a few places over the past few months is Powin Energy, mostly thanks to the US market, thanks to the emergence of new solutions like the Centipede solution proposed by Powin, which has been gaining some traction in the US. After that, there's Saft also, who gained a few places, mostly thanks to Total Energy's projects in France that have been commissioned since last November. So more than so Saft over these past few months has commissioned more than 60 megawatts of projects, let's say divided into two projects, and another one that has been announced for a total sizing of 43 megawatts. So this total volume has allowed to gain some places. The same thing with NOAA, thanks to new projects, mostly in Taiwan, to deliver frequency control services. So once again, if we try to take more of a geographical approach of things, Fluence is leading the way in Europe, followed by NIDAC ASI. So NIDAC ASI is considered to be one of the largest players when it comes to operational systems, mostly thanks to projects operational, let's say, in the French overseas territories and in other geographical, let's say, European markets. And third position, there's Sangro with multiple projects, notably in the UK, for example. And then there's LG Energy Solutions. So all of this capacity is mostly coming from NEC ES for LG. After that, there's Wärtsilä, Tesla, and LS Industrial Systems. In terms of new players on this level, there's Trina Storage that has gained some interesting places, mostly thanks to two projects in the UK with SMS PLC, which has allowed it to gain some places at this new leaderboard. There's also TMEIC, which is short for Toshiba Mitsubishi Electric Industrial Systems Corp. So this integrator is mostly the fruit of a collaboration between several Japanese companies that are trying to develop 100 megawatts of projects in the UK. So that as another new player. Then there's Metka EGN. Metka EGN has begun gaining some interesting projects, mostly thanks to projects in Italy under the fast reserve auction back in 2020, but also thanks to the latest capacity mechanism, the capacity mechanism, capacity market auction in Italy that has also allowed it to gain a few places. That's also the case of India team that has announced a few weeks ago 70 megawatt as a 70 megawatt 340 megawatt hour project also in Italy, which also led it to gain a few places in this ranking. When it comes to North America, Fluence and Tesla are really close, with the Fluence leading the way. Then just like we've said earlier, there's FlexGen also next, thanks to this opportunity with Ameresco, followed by LG Energy Solution, mostly thanks to NEC ES, followed by Vactila Power Energy, and others. So I think that was most of it when it comes to these players. So please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to start sending them right now. Maybe I can give the hand once again to Michael just to discuss the slides when it comes to current and upcoming opportunities for energy storage.
Thank you, Naim. Thank you for this discussion. Oh, I think it would be nice. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so as you know, we at Clean Horizon are pretty well versed in tracking storage pretty much all around the globe. So what we wish to present you here on this one pager is essentially where we're seeing movement and action that is new and the landscape that is about to change. And this is also a way for us to bring you backstage for a few minutes. Some of you, I didn't see the full list of attendees, but I recognize some names. I know some of you are subscribers to our monthly analyst notes called Update from the Field, whereby we report every month on emerging regulations worldwide on storage, emerging projects. As you can imagine, we rely on CHESS. And also every month we make what we call the focus of the month, which is essentially either focusing on a country where we believe there's a lot of traction, or focusing on let's see, an international trend, like a global trend that is affecting the storage space. And so every month we gather up at our monthly meeting internally, and we have an internal, I would say, discussion board where where everyone who's following, we're a team of 16 people, so everyone in the team has a couple, 2 or 3 countries that he or she is following, and everyone shares their insights on the country they're following, so that we decide which country is going to be, or which region, or which international topic is going to be worthy of being the focus of next month. And so this is what we're showing here is, I guess, a graphical way to bring you backstage when we make those decisions to focus on one country or another, just to tell you that if you had attended that meeting a couple of weeks ago, this is probably the highlight. We're showing here the highlights of the discussion that would have led us to choose one country or another for the discussion. And so if I go from west to east, if I go, I think we have some questions, Naim, if you want to answer. I don't think I'll be able to do both at the same time. I think the question is going to be about the colors. I believe so. So yeah, the colors, if it's green, it's going to be really soon. If it's light yellow, it's very nice. If it's dark yellow, it's not as nice as light yellow. How's that? How's that for ranking? And I think blue is even better than green. Is that correct, Naim?
So blue is, let's say, a bit colder than green. So there's
Oh,
blue,
sorry.
then
Yes,
green,
blue.
then
Green is
yellow.
the
So
best. Green is the best. Blue is almost as good. Light yellow is not so bad, and dark yellow is, yeah, it will be good soon. How about
is the
that for scale?
is the opposite. The
Ah,
opposite.
whatever. Oh, yellow. Okay, you get it. Okay, I didn't prepare that, and I forgot to put the legend on the graph. Fine. And this is recorded. Terrible. What a shame. Whoever asked this question will not get the discount. Voilà. More seriously, thank you for asking the question, and apologies for forgetting this. But so let's go from warm to cold. So clearly, in Europe, we see okay, well, emerging interest among other countries for Poland, because there's capacity market that has emerged, and there are renewables for there's auctions for renewable plus storage. Just after that, I think we're seeing some interesting topics in the Philippines, where we're expecting an ancillary services market to open up. Those of you that have listened in our previous, sorry, Ludovic, we don't know each other. What a terrible way for me to get to know you. I apologize. The the So for those of you that have tuned in on our previous webinars or seminars, know that we've been discussing a lot of very interesting large-scale projects in the Philippines. So this is a market to track. Then going slightly, well, less hot, but still hot, India will be having our next public webinar on India. I believe it's going to be next month, where there is a 1 gigawatt hour tender released by the Solar Energy Corporation of India. And there's also a big discussion on restructuring the ancillary services market. So yes, huge potential. In Australia as well, where we have been pretty active lately, there is essentially a lot of movement on the energy market with a 5-minute settlement period, which is very favorable to storage because it allows us to make better trading essentially, and also changes in the ancillary services market. Back to light yellow, and focusing again on Europe. Romania has a deadline today. This, by the way, you have a few more hours if you want to bid, just a few hours, for renewable plus a storage auction, where there's a state funding available for storage. It's not a lot of storage, but it's free money. So what the hell? Then going west, Germany still has the innovation tender that some of you may have been participating in, where it's an auction for PV plus storage. Germany will very soon, along France, join the so-called Picasso platform, which is supposed to harmonize a very specific ancillary service all across many countries in Europe, and countries will join one after the other. Next in line are Germany and France. Then Belgium also has a very interesting so-called AFR, so ancillary service market, and there's an emerging capacity market, which is, I guess, will be all the rage, at least for us in storage. France has a few tenders opening up to storage, very specific scheme where it's the TSO which will be contracting or providing long-term contracts based on an auction which is called the flexibility auction, which will come out after the summer. Moving west again, we're seeing some changes in Chile for the ancillary services rules, as well as in Colombia. And in Canada, it looks like you know, the IESO, the system operator of the province of Ontario, is opening up its participation scheme to ancillary services, which is something we also would like to track. We are tracking, and we would like to let you know about. But so this is just I would say the executive summary of our backstage monthly meeting, where we decide what we believe is worthy of our interest and then your interest. Obviously, if you'd like to know more, get in touch. If you believe your country has been forgotten, do get in touch. We'd like to talk with you. And any question or any feedback, do not
I just
hesitate to contact us.
I just
Naim?
wanted to add, Michael, yeah, I wanted to say that this overview is showing you, let's say, the upcoming opportunities. So certainly already mature markets have not been highlighted in here. The role is really to show you what's been happening in terms of evolutions. So for example, the US, which is the largest one, was not highlighted because there has been no major evolutions over there. But the role is really to show you what's happening, what could be an interesting opportunity for players such as developers or solution providers for new markets.
Okay, and I think we're having one question which I will be reading. I'm not sure everybody can see it. The question is, what is your perspective in regards to short duration BESS project? It seems almost impossible to get interest from integrators for, less than an hour systems. Does all the upcoming projects shown are long duration systems? Well, actually, below 1 hour, it's usually, from what I've seen, it just makes more sense to buy a 1 hour battery, even sometimes a 2 hour battery, because it's just the capex is better. It rarely makes sense to buy a 30, 45 minute battery. I haven't seen those for a while. Do not know about you, Naim, but
Yes.
it's been a while. I haven't seen any.
Even beside the fact that, let's say, a 30-minute system is of most of the time more expensive than a 1 hour system, there's the market aspect of things, where in let's say in the European countries, mostly for frequency control services, the FCR one systems back in 2017, let's say, could be delivering it
I
through a
think
30-minute battery.
I think the question is asked by one of our esteemed colleague based in Mexico. So I believe he doesn't care about
Yeah.
Europe, but
So, so the interest is going, let's say, is advancing towards longer duration systems because the costs are going down, and there's a certain interest in revenue stacking, where this revenue stacking could allow for a better business case for the project itself.
I wouldn't say to the question that was asked. I wouldn't say that all of the colors on this map do not mention any. There's no mention of duration of storage. And I wouldn't say there's such an emphasis on long term on long duration. By the way, I forgot to mention Israel there. So for example, some countries there are 4 hours, like Israel, clearly. In some countries, it's less clear. So for example, in Europe, there's no real notion of duration. It's more like an optimum that one ends up doing, and it's probably closer to 2 hours, really. So no, so below 1 hour, no real rational capex wise. And in terms of the market trends, it tends to go to longer duration, but not all of those opportunities are going to be 2 hours or more. So will be 1 hour. Well, we just finished the questions. That's it. We're done. Well,
So that's great.
that's it.
Maybe.
If you let's say a finishing word, Naim, I'll let you finish this up.
Okay, thank you. So, just like Michael said already, we'll be having a webinar on the Indian energy storage market on the 22nd of June. So please register. It's also, the webinar will be free, so you can find the link directly through either through our LinkedIn page or through this slide deck that we'll be sending to all participants in a few. So we'd like to thank you. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to either directly on these email addresses you can see on the slide, or to the reports at cleanhorizon.com email address. So thank you once again, and we'll be catching up in the next edition of this leaderboard.
Bye, guys.